bro. Like it's
Right.
your mind will trip you up 10 times out of 10 if you allow your emotions to control you. Emotions are great indicators. I've gone to therapy for freaking 8 years at this point, 9 years almost, off and on. They're a great indicator. They're a good passenger. They shouldn't be driving the car.
That is, you should save a clip from this, and that should literally be like the first thing you play. Is that's so freaking profound.
But thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. It's a pleasure. I'm really glad to finally like get to talk to you, bro.
Yeah, I've been seeing you around for, well, I mean, at least like the last year since I've been like going hard on Twitter. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I definitely still use your like heavy centerfold 808 in almost every trap beat that I make.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. That's big coming from you, just because, at least for me, you kind of, I'd been hearing a lot about your loops, particularly for the last couple of years, and then you popped majorly on the scene in the last, I'd say, all year on Twitter, bro. And I love what you've been doing with just dominating the sphere, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? But
You already know, bro.
yeah, I saw one of your recent interviews where you were standing up. It looked like it was more like a talk show or something. Um, and I mean, it seems like you're getting like a whole lot of traction, a whole lot of attention. Um, can you kind of like tell us a story? Like, how did you get to this place that you're in now? Where, I mean, you're living the dream, right? I mean, you're doing music full time, so I'm
Yeah.
sure plenty of people want to hear like the actual story on tape, how that happened, type of thing.
Okay, yeah, I think that would actually be pretty good, especially since I've never really just talked about that before. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I would say that a good place to start would be when I was in college. I went to school for football. I had like a 17 or 18 Division I scholarship offers. So like I kind of had my pick of places that I wanted to go to. And, my parents kind of being like first generation African immigrants, they were like, you're definitely going to be a doctor. You've definitely got to go to like the school that's got the best academics. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up picking an Ivy League university to go to. And I was fully devoted to, studying medicine, taking like that STEM course, kind of like that thing that they kind of hypnotize us into doing, kind of
Right.
like abandon your creativity and get a real job. So I was pretty sold on that, even though I loved music my whole life. Like I was in band
Mm-hmm.
all through middle school. I ended up having to pick football over band because I was more interested in getting a full ride scholarship in order to study medicine in the first place. So I abandoned kind of music even early on. And then even before that, I was singing in the choir at church and playing the piano in church. So like I was always like musical, but time and time again, life would make me choose between music and what society wanted from me. So I would always do things like quit music in order to make it easier for me to get an education,
Mm-hmm.
establish myself in society. And then when I got to college, I kind of just realized that society's not, it's kind of, at least for me, I realized that I wanted to just kind of start making my own decisions. So I kind of stopped playing football. There was a kid at Harvard that got paralyzed from the neck down,
Oh, geez.
like my sophomore year, and that just traumatized me. And I was like, I just do not want that to happen to me. I don't even like football that much. I've only ever done it because like my parents wanted me to study medicine, so I needed a scholarship. So that's the only reason I ever even really did it. I was never crazy about it. So when I
Right.
stopped playing, I think The Life of Pablo came out like the spring that I stopped playing football. And I was just like listening to it, and I was like, I always loved Kanye. And I was like,
Right.
like, let me just see, like, how does Kanye do this? And I saw him like using his MPC on FL Studio, and I figured out like what FL Studio was. And then like I was like, okay, this doesn't seem like it's too difficult a thing to do. So let me just go download it and check it out. Like of course I pirated it when I first got it.
Right.
And I
As
just
we
like,
all did, man.
dude, I'm telling you, I bought it like maybe 2 years ago. So I'd been
Okay.
pirating it for like for 2 years, and then I finally bought it. I've been producing for 4 years total.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so from kind of downloading it and messing around with it for a few weeks, I kind of just fell in love with it. I got addicted to it. I don't know. It just got to a point where I was like, if I could do this for the rest of my life, like I would be very, very happy. And I would just say that to myself every morning. I would kind of be like, I would skip class. I got into the habit of skipping class to make beats. I started failing tests and like doing actually pretty bad in school. And just like, cause I was just like, I mean, I don't know, like I don't really like school that much anyway. So I would just make beats and I didn't really care if my grades were doing bad. Um, and yeah, like kind of to cut that short, like I eventually brought my grades up because my parents weren't having that. And I graduated with a pretty decent GPA. But even after that, like I was still, and at that point, I was making a decent amount of money from my beats. Like I had gotten pretty talented. You know, I was selling them on SoundCloud and selling them on BeatStars, but it wasn't. I could pay for groceries and maybe like a little bit of rent for my apartment. Like I wasn't taking it serious enough, like point where like I could tell myself that like, yes, I want to be a producer. I was still letting people like I was still letting my parents tell me like, no, you need to be like this in society. And like, I don't know, one day I just woke up and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I dropped like a tutorial. It was like that melody tutorial. And it got like it was like the first melody tutorial I ever did, and it got like 100,000 views in like a week. And then I dropped a beat after that on YouTube, and it got like 50,000 views in a week, and it got like,
jeez,
it got like 100 sales in a week. And I was like, dude, I don't need to do school. Like I made more than my professors in a cup, but like I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I just stopped going to school. Like I went to grad school because like, of course I went to grad school because my parents told me to. But when that happened that weekend, I was like, I'm just gonna wait until I fail out. And I didn't even wait. Eventually I just told them like, look guys, like I like what you guys are doing here, but honestly it's not for me, so I'm just gonna go. And I just never looked back, and I devoted my mentality completely to making music. Like I never considered a backup plan. I was like, if I go broke doing this, then that's just what it is. Like I have no shame with it. Like I'm just gonna go. And from there, like I touched my first 6 figures that year. No, wait, the next year after that. So like, and then it's been going up since then. So it's just like, I don't know. It was just like that level of devotion that kind of took me there.
So let's go back to YouTube and your first uploads. Like, okay, so this was a couple years, like 3 years ago, probably. Yes. You started uploading. So you upload, and I mean 3 years ago, okay, there was a lot less people doing it than there is now. Did you like look into like SEO, like how to get popping on like the algorithm? Like how did, I mean, because like 50,000 views in a week, that's great. But like because like, bro, like freaking whatever, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was friends with like a really big YouTuber who was doing 200,000 views every single day on daily vlogs. And if I would post with him and he linked me in his bio, I would pull like maybe 10 or 20,000 views. And so like, so it got me to like 10,000 subs like real fast. And then they dropped off over time when we stopped making videos together. But going back to what I was saying, for you, like you had to have like researched a little bit before you just uploaded, unless you just hit upload and then you had the correct, you know, title and your tags and your description and stuff were just popping. But is there like something there that really helped you pop off?
Yes, absolutely. There's a couple of resources that I actually study really heavily that I'd actually like to shout out since I have the opportunity. DJ Pain One absolutely is the most, has been the most resourceful person in my entire music career, probably. He was able to help me understand the importance of those things like SEO. So I was always studying his material, and I studied a couple of other really dope accounts. There was this one guy called The Brand Man. He still releases content, but he has like a lot of paid services right now. So that's what he's really focused on. And then there's another guy called Smart Rapper. He makes content mostly for rappers, but if you appropriate his techniques as a producer, they're also very useful. So I would study them so much. So yeah, through that, doing that SEO, I learned like almost immediately that like for at least for me, Kanye West, Travis Scott, and Jaden Smith were like my go-to artists. And I just kept hammering that over time, bro. And the algorithm is like, it's a mathematical equation. If you just do it consistently enough, eventually you're just gonna pop off. I mean, sooner than later for some people, but it's still a mathematical equation that will work out basically 100% of the time.
Okay. So from YouTube, obviously, you were able to convert that into lots and lots of monthly sales because of your consistency on the platform over the last 3 years.
Yes.
Okay. Because see, that's kind of like key for this whole thing for a lot of people, right? And so they see YouTube and they're like, I'm gonna just do YouTube. I'm gonna do it every day, all day, post all the time. And I mean, yes, you can very well be in a position like you where you're making a lot of money off of beat sales, but it's kind of like I tweeted about it yesterday, how there's just so many other avenues and ways to make music, make money with music. And I think it's because with the beat selling game, the reality is I'm here in the Bay Area, right? So if I wanted to pay rent on or mortgage on the house that me and my wife will get soon in the next couple of years or whatever, I need to sell. If I just focus on beat sales, I need to sell like 300 or 400 beats a month, every single month. Yeah. I mean, I'm also in one of the most expensive markets in the world, but it's just like, how am I going to sit here and tell my wife, don't worry, honey, I'm going to sell 400 beats every single month for the next 25 years. Not a problem. Like, it's just, I'm not saying it's unrealistic. I'm just saying like, there's so many other ways to diversify. Right. But
exactly.
I mean, I'm sure at this point you've stepped into other different avenues for what you're doing, right?
Exactly. I think the YouTube success allowed me, the money and the success allowed me to create leverage. So from there, like I was able to get things like the notoriety gave me the opportunity to get placements. So like, I think all the placements that I get paid from, like actual like checks from that help me pay like my expenses, were all from YouTube like beats that I sold. So even the song where I won Song of the Year in South Africa, that he just bought it off of YouTube one day, which is insane because that record had made me, which is crazy. So, you know, it gave me that leverage to create those other kind of like revenue streams. And then, so I would say like, not so much focusing on selling beats, but like I think connecting with artists has been a really big thing for me, because I've been able to like land a few songs that like publishing actually pays like a decent amount of money. Like I feel like a lot of producers don't really realize that like you can get like a decent bag from linking up with artists and getting a song that gets like 100,000, 200,000 streams. Like that's like $700 to $1,000 in your pocket every time you can do that. So that's like, that's something that I've been like focusing on in the last year, just linking up with like a lot of different artists, like kind of like not the big names that people would consider, but kind of like people who are more like on my level, or maybe like who would be considered like lower than my level, just because like everybody has potential. And those are actually the people who end up going viral the most. It's not like, you know, the big people who are going to get you the money. I mean, but yeah, so I've been making a lot of money like that. Selling kits, bro, there's so much money in selling kits, especially when you create that leverage for yourself. So like when you create a following on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you create your following, producers tap in with producers. So any producer who's got an audience should leverage that. Absolutely. Start making merch, start making kits, start selling services, all of it. Make yourself an expert in the field and then just sell your services.
Absolutely. No, merch is definitely something that I've like had going back and forth in my head for a while. But yeah, I mean, kits, man, like I mean, I know you know my friend Drake Beats, and like we've done a couple of kits just from us messing around on Twitter, and then our names are Drake and Jawsh, and so, you know, the TV show, and we just played off of that for our artwork. We had our friend Z, the producer, make the artwork a couple times, and yeah, man, it's like, I don't know, $1,500 just from those two kits. And I mean, it's a lot of legwork. Like, I'm not gonna lie to anybody and tell them that it's just like, oh no, they come to me and I just sell them all of these kits. But I mean, that's the name of the game. It's like, do you want to do that, or do you want to work a regular job? Like, it's, you got to choose your heart. You gotta pick what you want to do that's difficult, because it's not easy either way you cut it.
Exactly. But the beauty of what you're doing is that you're doing something you love, so that compounds over time, so it won't be difficult forever.
No. Mm-mm. No, and at this point I've I've kind of not like stepped away from loops or anything, but I've gone towards more like coaching and mentoring and teaching people how to do what I've done over the last year on Twitter by myself, and just putting them through a 3 or 4 month course with weekly calls and weekly group calls. And like, it's the fact that what I've learned over the last year is replicatable and duplicatable with other people makes me so happy. That like when they're seeing crazy results every week and their impressions and their followers and their kit sales and everything is going through the roof, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And like, it's teachable, but of course, I mean, everything comes with a price.
Of course, but you're also offering something that like is almost invaluable. Like you can't really put a price on that, because you're teaching people something that they can use to create resources for themselves for the rest of their lives, them tangible skills. It's a powerful thing, and you're still empowering people, which is something you love to do.
No, it's, I mean, getting into the rhythm of it is, like coaching and mentoring and spending 3 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week with people, including getting, more potential clients into the program. It's draining, but once everything gets rolling and you're in the process and they're happy and they're seeing results and they're getting all kinds of interaction, they don't know what to do with it, then it's just kind of like, cool, this is why we're doing it, so that you can get your brand to a point where, like you were just saying, you can leverage your position and use it to open up doors to more opportunities. And that's such a huge thing.
Exactly, because the name of the game is leverage, no matter what you're doing, but especially in music.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, I know, like you were talking about, like you work with a lot of I guess you could say mid-range artists or artists that are on your level, but like the bigger things, how did those bigger placements come about for you? Like, was it just consistency over time? How did that work out?
So it was consistency over time in the way that I gained more confidence over time by practicing my craft every day. So I feel like I used to be at a point where like I wouldn't send out beats ever because I didn't have a lot of confidence in my craft. But I realized that the more I practiced, the more confident I became. And then when I reached a certain level of confidence, I started to send out beats. And almost immediately when I did that, I started seeing good results. Like I got my first like placement with an actual artist at a record label. His name is Rajan. He's from Toronto. I think his Twitter is like Rajan905. He's like super, super dope. He's got like 3 songs with Tory Lanez. He's got like 20 million streams. He's so fire. But yeah, and like he's got songs with Cody, Pilgrim. Like he's crazy. Everybody should check him out actually. But yeah, he was my first placement, and I literally just DM'd him. I was like, hey bro, like I like your music, and can I send you some beats? I had like 7,000 subscribers at the time. So like I think he was definitely doing me a favor, but it was just like getting to that level of like consistency and confidence in myself to even do something like that. Cause like if I felt like my shit was ass, I probably wouldn't have approached him in the same way. Or if I felt like, I don't know, like if it was actually ass, I probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to place him, because he would have listened to my beats and he would have been like, this shit is garbage. Like, and then I would have never got that opportunity. So, it was just like, it's really hard to say, but I would say just like breaking that barrier of being able to reach out to people, because you won't even get the opportunity if you don't talk to people in the first place. But, you have to be consistent and follow up and actually reaching out to people, because you have to just keep trying to reach out. Don't get discouraged, because for every person that I actually land like a big placement with, it's probably like 100 people, 1,000 people that I didn't land with, to be real, probably more than that. So yeah, but it's just like consistency. And then like I said, the other ones were just like the one from, it was like a El Grande Toto. He got like 4 million views on this one like YouTube video from my centerfold beat. That was just, they found the beat on YouTube and they bought it, and then they paid me the ad revenue from the video, which is crazy, bro. Everybody do YouTube and try to go viral, because that money is crazy. But like, anyway, Yeah,
American
like
ad money, bro. Ugh, it's nuts.
it's crazy, bro. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
No,
But
because
yeah.
like it, like going back to what I was saying before, like he's still a friend. We just don't hang out nearly as much. But the YouTube guy, he was really big in like Spain, Mexico, like down south, because his vlogs were in Spanish and his friends following was all Spanish and Latino, and like I'm Guatemalan and Mexican myself, and the revenue, bro, for anything out of the States is half of what it is for the States. It's nuts. Like I was saying, he was pulling 100, 200,000 views every single video, sometimes 500, 600,000, but it was literally like $100 or $200 back then. And this is 4 or 5 years ago. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it's pretty terrible. Like, but I mean, you can still live off it. You can still make it happen. It's just like all these little intricacies that like people don't understand to all these different world markets when it comes to advertising and stuff. Is just like, oh, I want a million views on my video. It's like, yeah, but where? Like, where do you, like, here in America, they're gonna pay like the top dollar for anything that goes actually crazy viral. But
yeah,
but that's the name of the game, like you were saying. It's just a numbers game. You're hitting up X amount of people and you're getting one response. But you have to care.
Exactly, because I feel like that's what keeps you pushing. Because like, if I stop at $9.99, then I don't get to 1,000, which is the one that gets me paid for the rest of the year. So it's like it is a matter of what do you care about. It is a matter of what do you want to do, because I was looking at this crazy stat the other day that's like it's like less than 1%. It's like right under. It's like 0.8 of 1 actual percent of all entrepreneurs actually become successful entrepreneurs, as in they make like over $75,000 a year and can pay like all their expenses. And it's like crazy because there's so many entrepreneurs, and that massive pool of people is really just people who are flailing, and there's only like 1% of people who are actually like doing it well. So it's like, you really have to fucking want it. You really have to fucking want it. It's like, it's not like, I wouldn't describe it as a crapshoot, because like I said, there are actual mathematical formulas to approaching advertising, and especially like in the way that you can approach it from like an algorithmic standpoint these days. But I mean, even at that, it's still not a get rich quick scheme in any way. No. Like you just said, like you can get millions of views and get you can get thousands of views and only get like a couple $100, which is nuts.
It's insane. And then I mean, streaming is a whole different thing, but I mean, but like you just said, you could land a couple of songs with a couple of artists that get a couple 100,000 streams, and the publishing side is paying out pretty decent royalties. So like one of my friends, he's got like I think like, I don't know, 5 million streams on one of his artist profile accounts, and it's paid him like $500 or $600 a month for like the last few years, which is cool. I mean, that's not, I'm not going to throw that money in the garbage, but it's also not even, it's paying, whatever, his car payment, his rent. I don't know what the case is, but it's just, I think it's glorified by a lot of the young guys that are coming up and doing it and making tons of money really fast, which is amazing. The 1% that are actually like killing it, like the Nick Mirrors and stuff, and obviously like internet money, but that there's a lot of guys in there that aren't making money too. But and a lot of the young 16, 17, I mean, most of what Twitter is, right? Most of the guys that follow us and stuff, 16 to 21-year-old kids, and
right, 15 to 24.
Yeah, and they see it and they're just like, oh my God, like that's it. I'm gonna upload to YouTube and I'm gonna get these big placements. And some of them get placements that never get released, or they get placements but they don't get paid, and they just don't have all the proper channels set up to have them succeed. Or and then they're in those positions that actually can be paying out like serious real money. So they see the dream, and they think that it's just gonna happen. Like,
yeah, which is tough. But I would say that's why it's really important for what you're doing, especially the coaching, because you're teaching people how to take at least the little bit that they can do with music and turn that into scale that basically, which is like, that's how you turn it into something that's livable. You create a little bit, you create a bunch of different pockets of consistent streams of income, and then 600 here, 1,000 here a month, 500 here. Suddenly you're making like 4,000 a month, and that's pretty livable. But
no, absolutely. I tell all my clients, I want you exhausted at the end of this program, because I mean that's how I was for, you know, like whatever the last 6 months since like August, making like a couple grand a month consistency with kit sales and consultation sales and beat sales and all these different little avenues of income. And I'm like, cool. I look at my PayPal and Venmo and Cash App, and there's money coming in, but I'm working full time again, doing Uber Eats like 40, 50 hours a week. So I'm trying to keep it up and keep it leveraged. And then my friend John approaches me and he's all, bro, like you're working way too hard. Like you need to coach people on how to do what you've done by yourself for the last year, instead of like getting a little bit of money that you can, hoarding it, putting it into a bank account, and still having to work full time, because, you know, there's the consistency in that can't be sustained. Sustaining 5 million impressions by yourself every month for the next 10 or 20 years, it's not going to happen. You need to think, no, absolutely. And so like now I don't even trip that last month was 3.5 million and January and February were 5 million. That's fine. Because now I have 5 clients under my belt that are 3 or 4 month long clients, and a few more coming on board soon. And it's like, hey babe, I got X amount coming in for the next 3 or 4 months consistently, not me saying, oh, just wait for another beat sale so I can pay the phone bill. Like, forget that, dude. Like, that's not a responsible way to live. You know, everybody's in a different situation. If you're single and your parents ain't stressing you for it and nobody's asking for rent and all you got to do is go to school, then go for it. Do it. Like that's the time to do it. But I'm 30 years old, you know, and she's got her pet grooming business and we're opening a storefront in the next couple months here, and we put money down for it a couple months ago. And so there's other things going on, you know, and but bro, like pet grooming is stupid money. Like absolutely. Like I have no problem with saying like that my wife is killing it financially for like our family, but she's also been doing it for 6 years. I've been producing on Ableton on my own laptop setup for less than 3, because I finally was able to get a setup like 3 years ago. I mean, I've been playing guitar for my whole life, but it's just like, there's so many different intricacies and dynamics to this whole thing. Everybody's in a different situation. That's why I tell the young kids, just go for it, bro. Like, you know, if your parents ain't kicking you out the door and saying you need to get a job and XYZ, then sit in your room and make beats all day and try to sell them and see what happens. I mean, there's no harm in it, but you might kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, well, there's got to be other ways to do this. There's got to be other things I can do as well. Exactly. Like you were saying.
Exactly. But I'm interested. So what made you, because I've had my own experience in kind of what took me from music to realizing that I need to do music, but also understand marketing, sales, and advertising. So like, what made you realize that? Because I feel like that's where the disconnect is where people never make it to that next level of, I need to become also a business person.
Right. I've done sales on and off since I was freaking 18 years old. So like I've done car sales, I've done nutritional supplement sales. Back in 2012, I had cancer. So once I got healthy from that and went through chemo and stuff, I was really like, my friend told me about these nutritional supplements, the guy that I was doing the other podcast with for the last 4 or 5 months. And so I went hard with that, got all my family on those, like just learn how to sell things. Like I said, I did car sales for like 4 months. So like those foundations were there. And I mean, to an extent, it's pretty true. You can sell one thing, you can sell anything. So a $20, $30 loop kit is like, bro, I'm not tripping. Like I'll send out 300 messages. I don't care. But it was this time last year for me. So, you know, it's literally been a year since quarantine. I don't know about where you are, but things are finally, they're opening restaurants a little bit to like 20, 30% capacity. But I was doing Uber full time. That's what I had done for the last year at that point, year and a half. And I was like, well, bro, like if coronavirus is that dangerous, like I'm not driving, like I'm not risking it. It's not worth it. didn't really get any unemployment, got the first stimulus check. And then my wife worked at PetSmart for, like I said, the last few years, and now she's doing her own thing. But she was getting unemployment, so I was like, all right, we're cool. Like, you know, rent's deferred, car payments are deferred, so it was pretty easy living for like a lot of people, financially at least, especially if you got unemployment. And then it was like a couple months in and we were just bored. Like, she was like, I'm so freaking bored. So she started grooming from home, and we had literally just gotten married in April of last year. So I was like, all right, well, I got to do something. Like, I want to do something to like bring in something to, you know, pay the utility bill or pay the phone bill or whatever the case may be. So I'm a 30-year-old man. It's my second marriage. Ain't got no shame in it. And I'm just kind of like, I need to do something. I need to provide somehow in some way. Like I said, I got the little stimulus check. She didn't get it because she was still under her parents, for like insurance and stuff. And then I got like 2 unemployment checks, and then they just cut it because I think they realized that I was an Uber driver, and they're like, nah, you can still work if you want. Couldn't get nobody on the phone for nothing. That's a whole different story. So I started doing like side jobs, like maybe once a week with my dad for air conditioning through his friend's company, maybe. And then I was just like, I just need to, I started coming out with loop kits for guitar, and I just started giving them away. Like, I wasn't asking for money at first. I remember there was lots of different times when I was at my in-laws' house, my wife, we're sitting by the pool, and they're all hanging out, like drinking and stuff. And I'm just sending DMs and sending free kits to producers that were asking me for my free kits. And I was like, I have to do something. And then eventually a couple of clients came out of nowhere, like custom loop clients, made like $300 from 15 custom loops or something like that. And I was like, cool, a little bit of money. And then, like, you know, just dirt cheap mixing, bro, like $30-$50 mixing for clients. Like I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but like, you get some really, really terrible audio quality mixing from the mic on like at prices like that.
You were mixing vocals, like the whole thing.
So like, so they would send me, you know, whatever, the MP3 or the wave of the beat, and then they would send me their vocals. And I was just like, bro, sometimes you're opening up stuff, and this is, you learn, but I was opening up packs with like 15, 20, 25 vocal tracks. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, why? And so I learned the hard way, you know, all right, between 5 and 10 vocal tracks, this is my price point. You get 2 revisions, but this was not the case a year ago. Like I said, trying to make something to bring in some money. So I went through the trenches, bro. And then me and Drake just started kind of going back and forth on Twitter randomly, and people thought it was hilarious. And we came out with those couple of kits like towards the end, like September, August of last year, and made a good amount of money with those, and just bundling my guitar loop kits together and selling beats here and there, which has never really been my big thing. Is like, I just, now for me, if I'm making a beat, it's because I have free time. It's never like because it's in between client calls, or it's in between potential client calls, or my wife's watching a murder mystery show at 9 p.m. and I don't care about that stuff, so I'm on my computer for an hour and a half making a beat. So but it just came to a point where it's like, all right, cool, I have all this money saved. I keep telling myself I'm going to put it into ads so I can sell more loop kits and be like Kyle Beats, excuse me. And I just didn't touch it. Like, it sat there and it sat there and it sat there. And then my friend John approaches me and he's like, bro, like, you're selling $100 consultations to potentially teach people how to make an extra $22,000 to $40,000 a year in music for $100 an hour. Like, and I was like, well, yeah, because everybody else is doing it like that. And he's like, no, that's BS. That's what you're telling yourself, but there's other ways to go about this. And if you really coach and teach these people how to do what you're doing, you can make a lot more money. It'd be a lot more sustainable. And now I'm to a point where I'm only doing Uber Eats like twice a week right now. But if I get a couple more clients on in these next round of calls in the next week or two, then I'm done. I'm cool. And I can just keep leveraging and building the business. But how long was I giving away free stuff for? How long was I doing dirt cheap mixes and just trying to hustle for $1? And thank God I built it to a point in August when it was like $2 or $3 grand for August, September, October, November. And obviously you have money coming in and you have money going out. It's just a business. But at the end of the day, I managed to save like almost $5,000 from those efforts. And I was like, bro, I'm freaking tired. I'm working 50 hours a week again some weeks doing Uber Eats, and I'm trying to be on my phone making every little kit sale that I possibly can, or every little beat sale, or every little mixing client sale, coming home 2 or 3 nights a week, working on mixes for clients, sending out beats to clients, or working on custom loops for clients. And then I wasn't doing anything for myself anymore. I wasn't making beats because I enjoyed it. I was doing it because I was being paid for it, on top of working a full-time job, on top of being a husband on the weekends. So I cut out the consultations on the weekends because that's when it was taking up all my free time, because that's when I had free time. And I just recorded a video course for a few months, and I would send that to people when they would pay me 90 or $100 for the course. Sometimes $50 if I was doing a deal. So I got to a point where I was like, all right, it's a bit more automated, but I still don't have a lot of time on my hands. I'm still using a lot of my time when I come home to do this stuff. And then, like I said, it came to a point where I met or came back into contact with John. I posted my Twitter impressions on Facebook, and he's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, how are you getting these kinds of numbers? I was at like 2 or 3 million back then. And I told him, and he's like, sounds exhausting. And I was like, no, it is. It's absolutely exhausting. But I was put in a corner. Long story short, I had, you know, I think a lot of us guys have this thing in us where we're like, all right, I gotta be the man and do something.
Natural instinct, yeah.
Yeah. And it got to a point where it was like, bro, like I was doing the math last night, looking at the pictures from this time last year, and it was like, I was like 6 months, I was just figuring it out. And then in mid-August of last year, I started doing Amazon Flex a little bit here and there, and it's just hard to get hours for that. So I just decided to go back and do Uber Eats. You know, just something more consistent, you know, just, I was like, bro, I don't know how long this freaking pandemic's gonna last. You know, I'll just wear my mask and I'll be fine. But yeah, but that's the part that nobody wants to do.
No, at all.
They want to make 10 beats a day and put them on YouTube, and that's it.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think you said it, like you put it really well. You said there's a lot of glorification, or it's like really glamorized, kind of like the nice stuff, but we don't really, you're right, we don't really talk enough about like the really grimy parts of really wanting something like this, or really wanting a life like this.
Yeah,
man.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 24. Wow, I'm still 24.
Okay.
20.
So at 21, I was gonna make it in my head. Back when I turned 21, I was like, nah, I got this. I'm gonna do music full time. Tried to move down to LA in a van that my parents gave me with a couple of my friends, and now 9 years later, and now I'm just scratching the surface of whatever is in front of me. You know, it's just, you never know like how it's actually gonna work. But I was producing for like a year and a half, just throwing stuff on SoundCloud, doing Uber, playing the beats for my clients or for my customers, you know. And that's what I had. No Twitter presence. I didn't even have 1,000 followers in February of last year. Like, wow. Nothing. I mean, my original Instagram got deleted. 10.1.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I had to rebuild my Instagram and everything too, because I don't even know why my original Instagram got deleted. But it's like, so that's also another part of it too. A year and a half of making beats, sending them to my girlfriend, who's my wife now, and she's like, oh, that's nice, you know, like the meme where the guy's sitting on the bed sending the beats to the girl, like, oh cool, it sounds nice. Like, nothing, no money, nothing at all. Nobody cared, bro. Like, nobody was listening, nobody paid attention. And like, but that's a year and a half too. And I was putting videos of me playing guitar on YouTube for 2 years before that, before I had a DAW, before I had a laptop, because of my previous marriage. My wife at the time didn't want me to spend money on any of this stuff. So when I got divorced, I spent a bunch of money on this stuff. But it's just like, there's so much more that goes into this, you know. And then they hear me play guitar. Oh my God, you're so good at guitar. It's like, I've been playing since I was 13. I started learning theory at 8 years old from my grandpa. Like, this is not something that, you know, you're just stumbling across my Twitter profile. You see 10,000 followers and you think it's this magical thing. But like, I've wanted this since I was in a band when I was 15 years old, 16 years old, with one of my best friends growing up, like playing that guitar. Like, it's just, there's a lot that goes in all. I mean, like you were saying too, man, like the whole college thing, like I see a lot of similarities in me too. I was going to college, state college. My parents told me to go. I got a bunch of student loans. And like a year and a half into this, I was like, bro, like I don't want to be a mechanical engineer. I have no interest in being this thing. And I'm incurring debt to do it. I don't know what your situation was, but once I realized that I was incurring debt to do it, I was like, nah. Bombed my last set of finals. Bro, BS'd every answer on every single one of those finals, and I was done. It's just,
yeah.
But that's the backstory to all of our stuff. For you, YouTube, working it hard, figuring out how to make it work for so long.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff I don't tell people about. Like, I don't tell people my scholarship, like I lost all that money and then I was incurring debt, and I did have to create a lot of situations for myself. Like, I don't talk about like how I had to take my Beats money, which was the only money I was making, and make some pretty risky investments for myself that ended up paying off. But like, if they didn't, I would have had to drop out. Like, there was a point where like Beats was the only thing that was supporting my life. There were times where I was sending beats to my best friends. Like, I sent a beat to my best friend one time and he like wouldn't even listen to it at first. And then he played it for like a bunch of his other friends and then sent me back a video of them like laughing, calling it trash. And I was just like, wow. Like, wow. It's like, it's crazy. It's just like, there's a lot of like, nobody talks about like all the people who call your shit ass. Nobody talks about like all the girls who don't care about your stuff, even though it's like, it's literally your passion and they can't even give it a second thought. Like, nobody's talking about like the really tense emotional thing. So like, we're having like a real conversation, and I think that's really important like right now, because like, for one, and I'd like to go back to like how important what you're doing right now is that you are able to take people like you are important because you're able to take a lot of that, compound your experience so that people don't have to go through as much as you had to in order to get what they want out of life. I think things like that are so important. They're so important because it helps you realize that, for one, it's not going to be easy, but that it is doable if you can apply yourself properly.
Yeah.
And if you want it, and if you care, like we said, and at the end of the day, you really don't have to make music. You can try it for a few years, and if it doesn't work out or if you don't like it, you can just go like be a doctor or like, I don't know, be a consultant. It's like, you can do anything you want in life. You don't only have to make beats, and it can be a hobby. Like, it's not the end all be all. Like, bro, you don't have to be a professional producer. It's actually not that serious. It's not. Like, I want to be a producer that bad, but I actually fuck with money a lot. So if for some reason producing stopped working, like I would go, like I would honestly sweep floors to get money, like because at the end of the day, you need to get money. Like, you need to get money in order to live. So I would still make it shake no matter what, but like, I want to produce. So like, I'm gonna try to make it shake in producing as much as possible. And you know, if it ends up ever not working out one day, you will definitely see me sweeping floors to get money, because I will never be broke. Ain't gonna be me. Sorry. But yeah, no. I mean, I also have an Ivy League degree, so like I have a lot of like other things to fall back on. So there's that other stuff too. But you know, yeah.
Which is no, you're good. No, it's situational, one, right? But there's so many other things that you've done or accomplished too, regardless, at the end of the day, to appease your parents, to make them happy. I understand all of that too, but like, you could literally move here where I live and get a job at Google, Facebook, Amazon, because of your position that you're in. I used to lie on applications to get jobs at places like that. this was years ago. I mean, it's my integrity was in the trash. It was terrible. But I mean, just the things that people do, bro, like they don't even care. Like a lot, there's like 6-month Google programs now where you don't need a degree. You just need to go through their program for 6 months, pass all their certifications, and they will hire you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, well, I mean, if that's the route you want to go, I've been there. I've seen that life. It's very interesting. It's not anything I want to be a part of. It's very much so like a cult. But I'm not gonna get into that here. But yeah, it's just like there's so many things, bro. Like I've been a bartender, I've been a server, I've been an Uber driver, I've been an Uber Eats driver. I've worked at a children's museum. I've worked at a hookah lounge. I worked at In-N-Out when I was 15. I got my first job, 15 and a half, got a work permit from high school, and I would ride my bike a mile down the street to In-N-Out to work. And I did that until I got my car at 18. Like, and I mowed lawns when I was like 10 years old. I'd mow our neighbor's lawn like every week. And I remember there was one week where I did it and I was a couple days early and the grandpa came out and he's like, hey, like, you don't need to be mowing the lawn right now. Like you're cutting it too short, because I wanted that money. I wanted that 10 or 15 extra bucks. Like, it's like these things are like, and my dad's from Guatemala, first generation immigrant, came here and he was like 6 years old. So like all of these things. And of course my parents or my mom, you know, oh, you should just be an engineer. Like that's a good job. You should just do that. You know, you'll be able to provide. But like you realize, and then you go through these things, you have cancer when you're 22 years old, you go through a divorce when you're 28. And like, you just kind of realize like there's so much to do and so little time, in a sense, where it's like, I just want to be able to at least be given the opportunity to do what I want to do. And when I first started making money with this a year ago, my dad was always the first one to be like, wow, and they're paying you up front for these services? And I'm like, yeah, they're paying me up front for these services because it's going to take me a long time to mix their song and all these things. And, you know, my wife's like, oh, wow, you made, you know, $300 today. That's awesome. Or $500, whatever the case may be. And you know, happy enough. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, just give me the opportunity and believe that I can actually do this, and let me show you what I can do. And even if you don't, that's okay, I'm gonna still do it, you know. But it's just a lot easier when you have that emotional support behind you. But for me, it didn't really start. I mean, they would always say they support it, but it didn't really start coming until they were like, oh, you're making some money from dude, one of the funniest stories, it was like July of last year. I'm at my nephew's or my niece's birthday party, my niece's 1-year-old birthday party. And I'm sitting there next to her grandma, which is my sister's husband's mom, right? And she's also telling me like, what's going on? This is middle of quarantine, right? So tell me, what are you doing? Like, what, you know, and these people ask you these questions and you have these conversations, and they're always kind of awkward because you're waiting for them to just be like, so how's like, well, what are you doing with your life, type of thing, right? And I'm just like,
how's the DJ like, thing?
yeah, whatever. How's that little music thing going, right? And I was like, yeah, I've, you know, been working on my music business to make some income, and I'm like, I'm not trying to flex, but I am trying to like kind of get people to stop asking. And I was like, yeah, there's like $1,300 in the bank account because of it. And her eyes were just like, oh my, like just shocked, like floored, like no way you're actually making money doing this. And I was like, yeah, so you know, I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not really comfortable working right now because apparently you'll die if you go outside, like, or be around strangers. And meanwhile, we're at this freaking birthday party with a bunch of random people we never see. And I'm just like, yeah, so like, I'm happy with where it's going, and we'll see where it's at in a year. And she's like shocked, bro. But like, that's the kind of stuff where you're just like just proving people wrong. They may be thinking things they'll never tell you, but you see it all over their face in situations like that, where they're just like, that's amazing. Like, you have like, and when I took this course with my friend John, like, it wasn't even a conversation that I really had to have too much with my wife. I was like, hey, I have $4K saved. He wants $4K for me to start this coaching program with him. And she was like, well, if it's in the account, then go for it. You know, it wasn't even like a, well, you know, we should talk about this thing. She's like, if you have the money saved, put aside from your music endeavors, then for sure. Like, and now here we are, and I'm on the road to like make double that back in like the first couple months, but put the money where the mouth was, took a risk on myself, and I freaked out for a second. Yeah, and I freaked out for a second, but at the same time, it wasn't our bill money. It wasn't stuff that was paying our car payments, XYZ, whatever, because I was working full time again. But I had that moment internally where I was like, all right, I'm either gonna make something happen and get on the phone with clients once I have my infrastructure set up for my business, and hit the ground running. Like today, after this call with you, I have 3 potential client calls, and work this thing, or I'm gonna freak out, waste the money that I just saved for the last 6 months and do nothing with it. But like, I think the emotional maturity and the intelligence was there enough for me to kick myself into gear and get to work once I started putting the tweets out there and getting the clients on the phone and learning the process of the sales framework. So lots of different things, but it all comes down to just hard work and effort.
Absolutely.
It's selling somebody a $30,000 car, or a course for the next 3 or 4 months based off of payments. There's not a whole lot of big different disparity in those two things. They're coming to you because they're interested.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beats, they just might not think your beats fire that they want. Then they disappear.
Exactly.
But yeah,
you've done a lot for yourself.
I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with the space. It's a nice. This is my old room. We're in the room across the hall now. But nice. I mean, yeah, I'm happy with it. But all this is doing is allowing me more time to work on stuff that I actually want to work on. So once I'm in a place where I'm home 5 days a week, and I have my client calls organized throughout the week for the next couple of weeks out, my free time can go to working on loop packs that I can send to my friend who has Tory Lane's email, or working on beats that I care about, or working with artists that I actually want to work with and working on beats for their albums that they want to do with me and Drake and our friend Takala. But that's the time freedom that comes with the work that the second round of, clients that I'm working on getting right now. So it's a trade-off.
So what would your advice be to someone who wants to maybe branch into something like that? Because I've definitely been considering offering services like that. For the most part, I am only doing like free consultations and some paid consultations when I have time. But like, if you wanted to give someone like just a quick, like someone who actually has the ability to leverage a following, establish themselves as an expert, and because that's, like you said, that's how you can create ultimately opportunity for yourself to breathe, opportunity for yourself to fund your craft. How does one do that for themselves? How do they create that infrastructure? How do they become a salesperson?
Oh, for a salesperson, well, I mean, and this is like one of the hardest parts of any of this marketing stuff for anyone. It was definitely like the last thing that I started doing. Okay, whatever. You're at a job, it's a sales job, it's your first day on the job, and somebody goes, all right, go talk to that person and sell them that car. And you're like, bro, I don't know. No. Okay, so for me, if I'm trying to teach you and mentor you, I'm going to say, why are you saying no? Well, I'm scared. I don't want to talk to them. Like, it's uncomfortable, it's new, it's unfamiliar, I don't like it. Probably more than half the people are going to shy away from the opportunity to go out and potentially make that sale. And then there's people who have a little bit of self-confidence, a little bit of self-worth, and like, all right, cool. I mean, they're here, they're somewhat interested, let's see what happens. But like, you have to get like one of the best quotes that I learned, I think when I was 24 years old, is be scared and do it anyways. So like, I'm kind of scared. I don't really want to talk to them. It's uncomfortable. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, but still do it. Like yesterday, great example for me. And this is still something that I have to apply. Paid a guy that I know, and we do have a placement together with an artist. And I've made $50 whole from those 50,000 streams. It's amazing. Super rich. It was like a 4-way split, and the one of the feature is huge. He's a friend of mine. He has like 200,000 monthly listeners. But anyways, so I paid him, this producer. I paid him like I think $100 like a couple months ago or a few months ago, to do a collab for me, because that's actually panned out for me, right? I paid him the money. This big artist came to his house for the week and recorded. He showed the artist that beat. The artist wrote to it, but he didn't record anything to it yet. So I've been following up every month or so with this producer. Every time that I want to follow up with him, I get scared because I know that it's a little irritating to him for me to ask, but he's also not giving me updates. He's also not letting me know like where's their progress with this. So yesterday I was like, I'm gonna hit him up. No, I'm not gonna hit him up. No, but I don't want to bug him. And it's not like, yeah, he's got more clout than me or whatever, but I just want to know, because I'm getting radio silence over here. And so I'm like, hey bro, like, what's up with so-and-so? Like, we got any update on that track? And he said, I think so he responded to me. And then 2 hours later, I checked my DMs and there was another message from him. And he said that he wrote to it, but he needs something harder. Right. And I was like, all right, it is what it is. Something might come from it. It just might be a beat that I have that I could sell. Who cares? But in the back of my head, now I shouldn't do it. Oh, I kind of want, but I want to know. But I don't want him to be mad at me. Just the stupid mind games, bro. Like, it's right. Your mind will trip you up 10 times out of 10 if you allow your emotions to control you. I'm scared. Okay, what are you scared of? Well, what if it doesn't go well? That's great. For you, freaking 1,000 emails? What if they don't say yes? Okay. Who cares?
Right, exactly.
Who cares? For me, these next 3 calls, what if they don't go well? Okay, what if one of them closes? What if I get another client on for $3,000 right now?
Exactly. What if you close all 3?
What if I close all 3? What if I have a 70% close rate from the next 8 calls that I have, but I don't want to do it because it's after work on Thursday and I've been working for 6 hours and I'm tired, so I reschedule. But what if I would have closed and spent another hour and a half on the phone with somebody?
Bro, you know, I love what you're saying right now. Like, this is literally giving me chills right now.
Well, it's because a lot of us are programmed to think of what if it doesn't work instead of what if it does. I mean, I like to say there's fear and hope, right? But for me, bro, I'm talking from somebody who was so scared for so long to do so many different things. I didn't even ask my friends, who are my best friends, if I could sing in the band, and I wanted to sing for 4 years.
Wow.
But like, you learn some things, you go through some life, right? And I mean, everybody's got their hindrances and their hiccups still, and areas that I can grow in and things that I can work on for myself. But those things can't hold me back from getting out there and pursuing these avenues and these interests and these business endeavors. And they're not huge mental hangups that are just going to cause me to be detrimental as a human being. I can still go out there and produce and get my money, so to speak, and get clients on board and help people grow. These things don't have to keep you from being a great person or doing great things.
Wow. Okay, I think that is the most excellent answer you could have given to that question. I think because that's the ultimate barrier to making any sale is, did you even try in the first place?
Yeah. And like for me, wow. I know I could play the artist beat selling game if I wanted to and listen to people's music and genuinely reach out to them because I'm an actual fan of their music. It would take a lot of my time and effort, which is not where my attention is devoted to right now, but I know that that's just another thing that I can be doing in the future. Mm-hmm. It's just, and see, like, people think that it's BS when I'm just like, there's so many different ways to make money with this. There's so many different ways to make income. It's ridiculous, and even my eyes have been open in the last few months, and I'm sure there will be other things and other endeavors and other opportunities I come across, but like, there really are so many different ways to do. And I tell my friends, I tell Drake, bro, you should be doing this. Yeah, but my brand's a little bit different than yours. I'm like, bro, what does that even mean? Like, what is, because like you're not posting engagement tweets? Like, what do you mean? Like that is a foreign concept to me. You know, like he hates the job that he's in. He, you know, he wants to be out of it so badly. And I'm like, bro, you should be doing this. Yeah, but we're kind of different. I'm like, what do you mean? Because I smile more? What is, I don't understand. Like, you, I don't get it. But it is what it is. When people are ready, they'll take these steps and they'll do these things for themselves. But to the 16-year-old kid, man, I mean, for me, bro, what was it? Being at In-N-Out, standing at the register when they allowed you to even be there, because that's not where you start. You don't start at the register, you start sweeping the floors. And standing there and saying, hi, how are you, to every single customer that walks in with a smile on your face and acting like you care to be there. I mean, that's the fundamentals, being like a half decent human being.
Yeah. And I think there's like you said, there's like kind of that natural resistance for most of the population where people don't want to really do those things. We're not conditioned to do those things.
No. I mean, I guess not. Yeah, you're not, but you can be taught it.
Exactly. And I think I've been learning a lot. I've been reading a lot of like stuff about sales over the last year. So I think, I mean, I've profited so much from just this like brief conversation. I've learned that like I should definitely focus a lot more on learning sales, because honestly, life is just sales. Every conversation you have, every decision you make, everything you get and everything you don't get, honestly, is a sale or some form of negotiation.
You're always selling yourself.
Even to yourself, which is probably the most important sale you make every day.
But, I can't tell you, I mean, I get chills thinking about it. Like a year and a half, well, like 2 years ago. So like, I've been with, at this point, 2 years ago, so we're about to hit 3 years in October. So yeah, we've been together for like maybe 9 months, me and my wife, girlfriend at the time. I'm doing Uber full time. I'm waking up at like 5-6 in the morning so I can get it done and over with. But I started doing this thing, and this is stuff that we've heard before, but I started waking up and doing my best to say 3 things that I'm thankful for every single morning. Just try to, like this morning I still did it, try to force them out. Just think of 3 things that I'm thankful and grateful for. Cool, did that. Brushing my teeth, I start telling myself, not just affirmations for me. I mean, I've been a believer and in church my whole life. I've had my ups and downs with it, just like all of us. But I started telling myself things, not just that I think I like about myself, but things that God says about me that are like infinite, forever type of things for the last 2 years. And so like started developing that, started actually believing these things, right? And kept the habit going. And I've done this before in my life, but it's been about 2 years now that I've kept this up, and starting to see the positive results with my music, with my beat making, with my career, with my business, with these sales, with these things. And then it switched over a couple months ago to, okay, I'm gonna bring on some high ticket clients. Like was one of the things I started telling myself when I brushed my teeth. Started bringing on high ticket clients. Had to put in the work, had to get on the phones, had to close the clients, but I started telling myself that before it ever happened. It's going to happen, it will happen. And then it started happening. And I was like, shoot, cool. And now it's to a point where it's like, hey, I'm almost out of my job, if you want to call it, whatever, because it's Uber Eats, you do it yourself. And I'm like, all right, cool, this is working. Like there's something to this. Getting my mindset in the right place, you know, to a position where I'm like, I kind of almost have the things that I've wanted in life for the last 9 years right in front of me. Pretty close.
Wow.
People call them declarations and affirmations, but it's a little more deep than that for me.
They're like almost like you're creating fundamental truths in your life, like as you go.
And they are true, but it's me starting to believe them.
Wow. Wow. I might have made the assumption that you were spiritual, but I couldn't have guessed to this degree. That's wow.
But like, it's kind of like, because of like the trials and the tribulations and stuff that I've been through in my life, it might be necessary to keep me in a healthy, positive mindset. Because I could be totally on the opposite side and nobody would hear from me, and it would just, very depressed and very unhappy also. So I do my best to choose inside with positivity. I don't do it every single day. I try to. There's some days when I forget to brush my teeth in the morning because I'm running out the door or whatever, but it's to the point actually now where even if I forget to, I will still tell myself those things while I'm out there driving or working or whatever, even if I didn't do that thing that sparks it in my head to get those things in my head every day. Mm-hmm. But it's a habit.
You've created that rhythm in your life.
Oh yeah, no, that's like ingrained in my freaking memory. Like Switch on Your Brain was one of the most powerful books that I've ever read back when I was like 25, 26. Wow. How you can teach your brain.
Who's that by?
Dr. Caroline Leaf. I don't like to read. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 18, made me want to be an entrepreneur so bad. And then I read Switch on Your Brain when I was like 25, 26, because one of the leaders at this school I went to up in Humboldt County, like this discipleship school, she sent a video link out like on Facebook or something on her Facebook page. I watched it and I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting. Started reading the book every single day before I'd go to work at Chili's. Started taking notes as how much I liked it. And basically she's seen people with brain trauma, because she's a doctor and she's a believer too, but she is an actual doctor. She's like blowing up on Instagram now because of all of her books, but she's seen people with brain trauma, traumatic people who would never speak again, through repetition and through believing that the brain is trainable and teachable, and you can teach it to operate out of love or fear, is what she says. And you can teach yourself new habits, new ideas, and things that you used to know that you can apply even after physically traumatic things happen to the brain. Also emotionally traumatic as well. But it's doable. It takes about 90 days. Who's going to invest 90 days? Not most people.
Yeah.
Especially it takes a month to develop a habit.
Exactly. And especially if they don't even know of the possibility, if no one's talking to them about the possibility, giving them the information, then it makes it that much harder.
Yeah. It's called neuroplasticity. That your brain is a muscle that you can teach and train things. Wow. So I started doing those things years ago, but traumatic things happen. We forget who we are. We go through processes. Life gets hard. Cool. But as long as we can kind of come back to center and start doing those things again, it's like a bike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you never really forget. And when you've worked so hard to create those habits, you don't really forget. I've been trying to do the same thing, maybe only for the last year, but like, it's just neat to see all these synchronicities of habits that I've been trying to create in myself be so successful for you. Because that gives me hope that like this stuff can be replicated for a lot of people who have experienced a lot of like deep traumatic things. Like they can really heal themselves just by believing in themselves over and over again, waking up every day and making the decision to just be better. That used to be something that was really hard for me to do. And even now it's hard to do. Like I miss some days, but I try to do it every day. But just like hearing you say that, like how it's like lifted you to like this new level is incredible, man.
I think over the past couple of years, yeah, I think so. So like, yes, it works, but if the underlying like stuff isn't addressed, you can't just mask over. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm sure I got tons of things that will come out when we start working through this process with this lady for myself too. But I'm at least to the point where I can look at myself in the face, tell myself things that I love about myself, that God loves about myself, and be like, okay, cool. Now let's go. Let's go. and I got this and we can do this. But it's really hard to do when there's underlying trauma and underlying stuff that you're believing about yourself. Because I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it, you know, as well as all people.
So where did you guys meet?
Facebook meme that I posted. So what I used to do, I used to add people with lots of mutual friends as me on Facebook, because there's a 5,000 friend limit on Facebook. And so I'd add anybody with over 10 mutual friends, and she was in there somewhere. And I posted this meme from an anime called Howl's Moving Castle, and I didn't know what anime it was from. And I posted it, and some old lady from my past life, she responded and she's like, "Oh, I love this movie." And I think I said like, "Oh, I don't know what it's from." And then my wife chimes in and she's like, "It's from Howl's Moving Castle. Like, I love that movie." We started talking on the meme, and then I messaged her, and I was actually in LA at the time for my birthday, staying at my friend's house on his couch in Pasadena, had $50 to my name, came back, wanted to take her on a date. She was like 2 or 3 hours late because she went to the nail salon after she got off work that day, and had a really like a bomber beer with her manager at the time. And so she lost track of time. She was kind of buzzed, rushed home, got ready, and then she paid for the whole date because she felt so bad. Because like I literally came back from LA, was waiting for 2 hours for her in this room drinking Modelo's, and then went and met up with her. And she's like, "I feel so bad, I'll pay for everything." And I was like, "Cool," because I only got like $50 to my name. I didn't tell her that, but yeah, this is like right before like all the divorce was finalized and stuff. So like we were separated and everything. We weren't talking, not on good terms or anything, but I just didn't have any money yet from the settlement. So Facebook meme, a little better than Tinder.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
And from marketing, from me just trying to build my friends list up and hacking how people were going to add you back on Facebook. We had like 30 mutual friends or 20 or something like that. That's the only reason she added me. I had no idea who she was.
Dang. That's
crazy.
How you found your wife. That's so dope.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we had our rough patches and, you know, our moments when I was like, I don't think this is the healthiest thing for either of us, and we had to break it apart for a couple days. And then she said that for me, I was like, all right, God, like either this is gonna work and she's gonna come back like a changed person, or we're done. And then she hits me up, she comes in and she's just like, I feel like I had like this encounter with God, and like things changed, and I want to change my life, and like I want to live healthier and better for myself. And if that wouldn't have happened, bro, it wouldn't have. Because I was in such a bad spot at that point where I was like, I can't even lead somebody to try to be healthy. I need to try to be healthy for myself. And she was totally on board. Like out of nowhere, flipped the switch, and I was like, cool, let's do this thing.
God, is that you?
Bro, did premarital counseling, have done postmarital counseling, because like now I'm like, bro, when there's like stuff that comes up, we just gotta work on it. We gotta work through it. That's the only option. There's no other way like around it. It's not perfect. Things get hard. We don't talk to each other sometimes, but we always come back to those fundamentals and those things. But I mean, it's just painted as like this fairy tale picture of like, nah, you're good, everybody's healthy, we're living life, everything's a party. It's like, bro, screw that. Like, it's been like the hardest year of our lives, both of us starting our own businesses and acting like we know what we're doing. Like, come on, this is not easy. But I was telling her yesterday, I'm so happy that we decided to be productive with our time in the last year, because look at where we both are now.
Huge payoff.
No, yeah, but like I said, I'm not fronting. Like, she's for sure, and it should be this way because she's put 6-7 years into grooming at this point. She's the moneymaker, like, but she's also 6 or 7 years in. So when I'm 6 or 7 years in, I'm hoping that it's a total different switch for both of us, you know. But it's like we're both doing well. We're able to save. We'll be able to get a house if we wanted to in the area in the next couple of years. She's got a 5-year lease on this building here, so we'll be around for a while. But we had to put in the foundation when we had nothing but time on our hands.
time investments are the biggest investments, the most important investments you can make, really.
Totally agree. I should wrap it up because my call is supposed to be at 10:30. I don't want to be late for that.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll be talking. If you wanted to learn how to if you want to learn how to make $1 million in a year, no, I'm just kidding. If you wanted to learn how to do what I'm doing, I can get you in contact with somebody with John who could talk to you, because I can't tell you, because you got a bigger following than me. I can't help you leverage. Not that I can't, but you've kind of got some fundamentals down. But if you wanted to learn the infrastructure, he can talk to you and walk you through stuff.
I would love to learn more about like exactly how your system works, and if talking with John will help me understand more about, because what you said it blew my mind, to be honest. I was just like, what am I even doing then? Like, why am I making beats ever? Like, why am I struggling to make loops? Like, why am I struggling when I can just do that? So absolutely, you're doing me the biggest favor right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's John. It's his course. It's his program. You know who John Sway is, right?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, he's not just from Twitter, but he's an artist and a producer, and he's just like, he's blowing up his following too, like kind of similar to like what you've done.
The rapper John
with the
Sway.
dreads. He's he's the younger version of J. Cole.
Right.
Yeah, so I started talking to him about it at first, like before I had any clients, like 2 months ago. We talked on FaceTime. And then John, my mentor, John, he's like, bro, like, how are you gonna freaking help him? Like, he's got like way bigger of like, he's got a bigger machine running than you do. And I was like, oh, true. He's like, if you want to, just have him talk to me. Like, there's no reason why, like, you can't teach him how to grow his Twitter and his interaction and stuff. He's already doing it himself. Like, we want him to scale bigger than that already. So you're kind of like one of those people in that position. Like, I'm not going to sit here and run through a sales call with you, but you could talk to John, set up a time with him, and you guys could figure things, because he can get you in a place where you're doing something like what I'm doing, except you would be under John, like how I'm under John. So anyways, sure. I can shoot you his info, see how he wants you to get in contact with him. But yeah, man, it was a good talk. I enjoyed it. Thanks for being the first episode on whatever the heck this is for me, because I want to do more stuff like this where I'm not being pressured to put out an episode every week, and like it's just kind of like a cool format. Over time, I know what I should do with this. I should break it up into more digestible clips for people and be posting it on Twitter and stuff. Might take me a while to do that, but I'm sure I can just rip this thing and just cut out one of the parts and just throw it on YouTube, no problem. It'd be cool to have that be my debut back, because I'm sitting on 6K and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time. Of course. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been working on a few loops. I'm sure you could add to them if you wanted to. I could send them to you if you want to work on some loops or something. If you're struggling, they're ideas.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm always down. Like, I make beats and loops like literally every day, so I'm always down.
Yeah, I need to export them, which is the hardest thing for most producers to do.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course, you too, man. Take care. Good luck on your calls. I really do hope you close all 3 of them.
Bro, that would be freaking nuts if I close all 3 of these calls today. But yeah, I'm hoping to. I think it could happen.
You got this.
All right, man. Thank you. I'll be talking to you.
Peace.
Later.